What's up everyone, it's Felix the Fox and welcome to an episode of the Foxhole where we will be discussing Sonic Mania, the classic Christian Whitehead game released by Sega in August of 2017. A great side-scrolling platformer similar to the original Sonic games released by Sega in the 90s, this time developed by Headcanon, who also moved on to do the mobile ports of those games plus put them on home consoles with the release of Sonic Origins. Now, this series isn't really a review of the game, more of just how I felt about the game based on enjoyability while I was playing it, and all the little fun things I thought interesting about the game. I really quite enjoyed playing through Sonic Mania. This was a fantastic platforming experience, and for a classic Sonic experience, I have to say this is hands down my favorite. Of the 4 Sonic games, Sonic 1 through 3 plus CD, I think Sonic Mania is the perfect culmination of all of these games put together. It's like one massive incredible montage of Sonic's greatest hits, all put together in an amazing digestible format, plus improved physics, and it's a really fun time. The title for the game was originally going to be called Sonic Discovery, as that was the working title for the prototype that Christian Whitehead showed Sega head developers. But during development, they ended up changing the name to Sonic Mania, and it stuck. Within the first few months, as no one had really a better name for it, the devs said the name came from their maniacal love, whatever that word is, love for the series, and saying it was made by the Mania for the Mania, which explains how incredible this game is because there was so much love poured into it from fans of the series. Sonic Mania was made in commemoration with Sonic's 25th anniversary, which is a trend I've noticed in the Sonic series, is that we don't really get a good game-breaking new step forward for the series unless it's an anniversary title or something of that effect. You know what I mean? Like, Sonic Generations was the culmination of the boost formula, and it was because of an anniversary release. Sonic Mania comes along and is the best 2D Sonic we have gotten since Sonic 3, and it was for an anniversary release. And more recently, with the release of Sonic X Shadow Generations, that was also a massive step forward for Shadow fans of the series and for the boost formula, and it was only released to celebrate the release of another title that was an anniversary release, so that's always fun. We just have to wait every 5 to 10 years for a next great Sonic game. But recently, I think that has changed with the success of Frontiers and Sonic X Shadow, plus the release of Sonic 3. Sega seems to be hitting a stride recently, but again, that could all change, but right now they seem pretty locked in. But anyways, this game was made for the 25th anniversary, and it actually takes place before Sonic Forces. Gross game, won't go over it too much here, but Classic Sonic after this game gets transported to the moment of time that Forces takes place, I think. Don't know how they went from this to Forces, but that's the timeline that we're in. So, development for this game was used with the Retro engine, which Christian Whitehead would also use for the enhanced ports of Sonic Origins and the stages that were modeled after Sonic 3, with wanting to have a boss at the end of every stage, which I think was a really great idea. Old bosses from across the series are all here, some just like a little bit more reworked than others. They added Eggman's Mean Bean Machine as a boss, which I thought was really fun and enjoyable, as I am a massive fan of that game. So it was a treat seeing it here. Other bosses I enjoyed were the Egg Pistons fight, the Crimson Eye, the Spider-Mobile, and of course Phantom Egg. The team for Sonic Mania included programmer Simon Tomley, whose nickname or middle name maybe is Stealth. I don't know, that's just what the article said, so that's pretty cool. He helped with various ROM hacks with Christian Whitehead that they had done together in the past. They also had a level designer, Jared Castle, and art director Tom Fry, who both collaborated on the unofficial remaster of Sonic 2, which you should definitely check out. Great stuff over there. The rest of Sonic team was there to make sure that the team didn't go off the rails and keep everything close to Sonic, which probably could mean anything. Honestly, I don't know exactly what that means. My best guess is like if Christian Whitehead wanted to like put a jetpack in there, then they're like, oh, you know, that's not Sonic, we can't do that. But apparently they also helped with mixing the pixel art with polygonal graphics, which, speaking of graphics, I think this game looks fantastic. Every detail just pops. The character sprites are done perfectly. I really love the color of the characters. I know some people wish Sonic was a little darker and aren't too big fans of the light blue. I like the look of it. Then again, I didn't really grow up with the original game, so that's probably why. But I also like the look in Sonic Origins that he had, so I understand people wanting that, and I understand people's gripes about that. Every level here is very vibrant, and you have so many little details that make everything seem so alive and moving. Even all the enemies are very well designed too. Several levels featured from other games are here in full and reworked. You have Green Hill and Chemical Plant and others that are original stages that you remember, just with some quality of life improvements and helping with Sonic's physics. The original first level designed for this game, however, was the Hollywood-themed Studiopolis zone, which is a great level. 10 out of 10 for sure. I love replaying this game and getting to that stage. Everything about it just smashes my dopamine receptors, and I love flying through this stage. The other original stage, Mirage Saloon Zone, was inspired by an unfinished level from Sonic 2. This level I'm not as big a fan of as Studiopolis, but it's fun. I'm not a big fan of auto-scrollers in general, so maybe that's why like the beginning in Act 1 is a bit of a slog for me. Act 2 is really fun and somewhat redeems it a little, but still great level designs. Now, I'll go over the plot a little, just touch on it a bit. There's not much going on, your pretty basic and standard Sonic story. If I'm correct, it takes place after Sonic 3 and Knuckles. A weird energy reading is like happening on Angel Island, so the gang's got to go up there and investigate where they find the Phantom Ruby is the source of that signal. So Eggman's elite group of egg robos turn into like hard-boiled heavies because of the power of the Ruby, and then cause trouble for Sonic and crew along the way. Eggman then uses the power to retake control of Little Planet, which was featured from Sonic CD, so the heroes board the evil station, beat Eggman, and escape just before it explodes. The true ending, however, after gathering all 7 Chaos Emeralds, is where Sonic and Eggman are taken to another dimension where the Heavy King has used the Ruby for himself, and then you have to fight both Eggman and the Heavy King. After defeating them, the Ruby creates a wormhole vacuuming the station and Little Planet inside of it, which we now know transports Sonic to the story of Sonic Forces. I think. The Plus version changes like a couple things here and there. Not a bad plot, I think. Could use some more action and some cutscenes, I think. Like, realistically though, if you're playing this game, you don't really know the plot. Like, okay, like be honest. Like, you are just going stage by stage, taking out enemies and bosses until the very end. Like, we see the Ruby a couple of times, but I was never like, oh yeah, that's the Heavies, that's the Heavy King, he's mad at Eggman. Eggman, that's definitely Little Planet from Sonic CD. Definitely remember that. And yeah, now he has it and they're gonna fight. Like, if I didn't research the story, there was no way I was pulling that kind of information out of the cutscenes that they gave me, which isn't a bad thing. It's doing what it set out to do. And it's like the originals with telling the story, which is the only way they could in those original games with the in-game pixelated cutscenes. But I would have loved some more art style cutscenes like we get at the end and the beginning of this game and the ones from Sonic Origins. I think cutscenes like that could have gone a long way to help move the plot and maybe add some extra details in there. But all in all, I think it was executed very well, and it's very sad that the plot we got after this was the story of Forces, but that's where we are. Now, getting to our last section with a bit of trivia here, I will go over fun little facts about the games. Several critics expressed excitement for Sonic Mania at the time of release for the return to style of the early Sonic games, saying Sega's previous efforts to develop 2D Sonic games with the inclusion of Sonic the Hedgehog 4 has been disappointing. Upon release, it became the best reviewed Sonic game in over 15 years, and several critics described it as one of the best 2D platforming games of the decade. At launch, it was the best-selling Switch game and helped Sega double sales of packaged games, and by April 2018, it sold over 1 million copies worldwide. US Gamer described it as the pinnacle of the series in pixel graphics, while Metacritic and GameSpot commented on the game's incredible animations and detail that was superior to the original games and added an extra level of personality for this release. The release for this game went great on all platforms except Steam, where it was actually delayed for 2 weeks in order to further optimize the performance of the game. Consumers who pre-ordered were given a free copy of the original Sonic 1 on Steam to compensate for the delay. That's absolutely wild. Now, I can't imagine waiting over a 20-year-old game as compensation for a 2-week delay, but then again, I don't really play on Steam. So, the collector's edition featured a Genesis-themed styled figurine with Sonic standing on top of it, which kind of looks pretty cool. I don't know if it would be worth it, but not bad of an idea for a collector's edition. For our last little bit of trivia here, in Japan, the physical release of Sonic Mania Plus actually featured an expanded version of the soundtracks that had 2 CDs and includes every song featured in the base game, plus bonus tracks by an American EDM band. Which is interesting when you think about it, that a Japan exclusively got an American band to do songs for a release that was only gonna be in Japan. That's Sonic the Hedgehog right there. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Foxhole. If you liked the video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe to join the Foxhole to stay updated on future videos. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.